As a tall man, I hate tables. They're always too short for me to feel comfortable. And whenever they make them taller, they make the chairs taller too. It's hard to fit when they're never made for you. In my home, I got so annoyed with the kitchen table, we pushed it up against the wall and turned it into a desk. And even then, I still couldn't fit at this, so I stand at the built-in cabinet in my closet where I've made a desk out of it. And my family eats in the living room most of the time, on love seats and couches, usually on top of me, and I feel fine knowing my son can only be comfortable in the high chair in short bursts before he squirms. The funny thing is, I'm very familiar with tables. That may sound odd. When I was a pastor, that was half of my job, putting tables up, taking tables down, counting the people who came, making sure to pass flyers out, and setting the table with response cards or devotionals or Bibles, every day making a space for someone else. And my mother-in-law, on holidays, she's the same way, spending hours prepping the table and making the meal, while her grandkids play in a separate room, not quite locked away. The worst of it is, whenever my son sits for those meals made out of her dedication, he fidgets. So the meal is always short-lived for him, too eager to run to his May-May and tug at her dress while she eats, so I scoop him up and take him into the other room, a separate space, so she can enjoy the meal. The first time I was fired from a church, I sat at a table with 12 other people, all of them men, as they casually tried to defend a pastor who called a woman a $2 crack whore, and I sat thinking about how I couldn't possibly provide for my pregnant wife, how I couldn't afford the mortgage, and how I'd need to find a new place to live, some way to get by or some way to get back to a place where our family could survive, and I thought how sad it was that my wife wasn't even invited to the table as she cried in our car, pregnant and alone. But that was 3 years ago, and there are scars more fresh, like the second church that fired me since, where I sat at a table that was meant for 12 once again, but it was just my wife and I and the pastor, who asked me when I wanted to leave. And my wife sobbed, and I said I don't want to leave. And he noted, it's not going to be comfortable for you to show up on Sunday. I see, I said calmly, and considered how this is how it felt for so many Sundays, always bending out of shape to find a place at a table where I was never welcome. Now, I work from my little standing desk in my closet, and my wife runs a business from the kitchen table in the dining room, and we meet people who we would have otherwise never known, no longer sitting in pews knowing so many and feeling so alone. Now there is love and laughter and authenticity, and there is brunch and happy hour and commiserating. So when my mother-in-law comes over, and she's confused as to why there's no space for her at the little bar where 2 stools stand, I sink into my comfy chair in the living room, and with a child under each arm, I smile, thinking, sometimes you gotta make a space wherever you can fit. Carve an office out of a closet, push away every useless thing. When the time has come, you'll know when, and that's what I've learned about tables, and how to be comfortable without them.
It is well with my soul.